This is our regular Tuesday show and share, where we come together and show off our projects, our successes, and our less than successes, or our wonderful disasters. I know we're going to have some really exciting show and shares today. Let's see. Do I need to say no PG-13? Okay, yeah, no non-PG-13, because this is getting broadcast over many broadcasty things. That's a technical term, by the way. There's going to be a test at the end, so be prepared for that. Without further ado then, since I can't think of anything else that I was supposed to say, we will start with Tracy, who has a rock shelf.
Hi. I started going camping more often recently and like taking a free souvenir in the form of a rock or stone, and I wanted to display them, so I made a shelf for them. So the outside is cherry, and it was my first time not using a butt joint. This is a rabbet joint, which is only slightly different. I did it all with the table saw and calipers, and then the inside is laser cut, but I made it so you can remove them. So like this bottom one here, I took out the wrong one. This bottom one here is like 2 shelves because I have one bigger rock. So I can take them out and like make them different sizes. If I have like a gigantic rock, I could make like a huge space to put a much larger rock in. And it's not glued in, it just like the wall holds it in place. But then I started collecting too many, and I forgot where all of them came from. So I wanted to label them, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to label them. I don't want to write it on the shelf. That would be ugly. You wouldn't be able to see it. I don't want to use really thick wood. I don't want to use paper. So I wasn't sure. So then I was sort of wandering around the dollar store, and I found this really thin wood. I mean, I think it's like a craft, like you paint the whale, but it's really thin, cheap, like plywood wood, not plywood, I don't know what it is, balsa wood or something, but I mean, it works for the laser. So I made little labels to go on the shelves and say where, and it looks like little tags. They're not too big. They're just the right size for each of the little squares. Originally I thought I'm going to make like a little thing to put on the back, and then it's going to fit right here and hang on the shelf, and I cut it what I thought was the right size, and then it's actually bigger than the tag itself. So I ended up just taping them on. So I just have some little brackets on the back, and it hangs nicely on the wall. I can put all my collection of rocks in here, which there's only 10. I need to go camping more. So this is my project.
Thank you, Tracy. I like your rock shelf. That's pretty nice. Alrighty, now we have Cooper, who has some 3D printed, I think this is Legos? Legos. Okay, alrighty, Legos.
So for the better part of like the last year, I've been 3D printing a bunch of Legos at like 2.5 times scale. And this is like one of the Lego. This is a whole Lego kit. It's like a Ford Mustang. It's just missing the windshield and the wheels right now. But this thing is like well over 100 pieces. They all come apart and go together just like regular Legos. That's really about it. It's just been a lot of fun. I've probably printed twice this many parts that didn't fit together right or just came out wrong for whatever reason and had to get thrown away. I recently got more into, it's kind of hard to see, but the tail lights are actually printed into the Legos, so that's kind of my next like step for the progress or the project is gonna all the blocks that would normally get stickers on them for like the headlights and the grill and all that stuff. I want to try to have that actually be printed into the parts themselves. Yeah, I don't know. This was just a lot of fun, and I thought it was kind of funny that like I think Legos are really kind of how I started getting into like making stuff. I was just obsessed with them all the way into like high school. And one thing I thought was funny is Lego actually doesn't like people posting the files for these online. Otherwise, I mean, I'll share them probably in Mattermost. It'd be fine if anyone wants to 3D print some of these. But I know like Thingiverse and stuff, you're actually not allowed to post Legos because they'll like have you take them down, which I think is funny. It's kind of their own fault that people are obsessed with 3D printing them. But that's about it.
Yeah, can you disassemble it and reassemble it as like a Camaro, or?
You totally could. I know it's. But yeah, I've thought, I don't know, as soon as I started getting done with this one, I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to do another car after this because I like that set.
Alrighty. Thank you very much. And like, if you ever get around to like scaling it up a little bit and dropping an engine in it, let me know. We'll just, do some donuts in the parking lot. That would be awesome. Alrighty. Now we have Simone with cosplay mishaps. Oh boy.
If I got a nickel for every time an animal-shaped cosplay project did me dirty yesterday, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot of money, but it's weird that it happened twice. So the first one I did was a Pikachu head. I'm making a resin-coated Pikachu mask for a Pikachu cosplay I'm doing at Otakon this August. And it was going great, looking like this. Good times, good times. Then I went to put the resin on the inside, and then not so good times. I quickly found out that resin will deactivate the sticky part of tape, and then there was nothing holding it together anymore, so it just sort of squished together. Then the other one is I'm making a crow head cane for another cosplay, and so I made it out of Sculpey, and I was molding it around the cane. It was looking like this. I was gonna bake it so I could sand it down and make it look a little prettier. And then I put it in the oven without the cane, and it sort of collapsed in on itself, and then the cane didn't fit in it anymore. So I had to cut half of it off, and it didn't have the fun swirly design on it anymore. So that was an interesting way to start my day of cosplay, but I was not going to resign myself to failed projects. I had to fix it up. So for the crow cane, I sanded the heck out of it. There's like only half of it left. I have now painted it. It's right here. It is a crow head cane. Theoretically, yeah. It's painted with the Stuart Semple's Better Black, so it's supposed to absorb like 98% of. I don't know if the light will. Yeah, it's like super black. I'm gonna pass it around. Yeah. 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 So I'll pass this around. But that's what I did to fix that one. To fix my Pikachu head, I waited until the resin was like 80% cured, when it's still sort of wiggly, but it's not sticky anymore. And I just went in with more tape, and I taped it back together. And it looks kind of rough. It does not look as pretty as it did before, but I think I can work with it, and maybe with some epoxy, get it looking nice and rigid again.
As the parental unit in that whole practice, she did not mention the part where it had kind of collapsed onto the deck and was sticky and seemed like it was going to stay there forever. And like my at least 30 minutes worth of panic, like, oh my God, are we going to have to sand off this deck? But it actually worked out okay. Once it hardened up, it peeled right off. So just in case any other parents might run into that, now you know. Let's see. Now we have Joe. Is this Joe with flutes and more? Alrighty.
Okay, I'm Joe. I'm new to the group. Just joined a month ago. And a couple of quick questions. How many people have 5 or more hobbies? How many have 5 or more hobbies? 10 or more? 20 or more? Okay. I have interest in so many different directions. Just about everything from A to Z. I'm into astronomy, beekeeping, copper work, electronics, and flute making. And got into flute making about 10 or 12 years ago, and I make the Native American style flutes. How many of you heard of a guy by the name of Carlos Nakai? If you're into Native American style flute music, he's probably one of the best known. But got into making flutes, got into doing some other woodworking. My wife quilts, and one of the things she has trouble with right now, she's got some neuropathy from chemo, from cancer treatment, and the pedals on her Singer sewing machines are an issue. So I call it the speed pedal, because you can put her speed control on it and give you a foot pedal like a gas pedal. So I've got one of those to show. But I got into making the Native American flutes. I started out simple, and then I went a little bit farther in doing some stuff. I love playing with unusual woods. This one is bloodwood, and I don't remember what the wings are on the bird. I've got one that's made out of, I haven't finished yet, out of what they call waterfall redwood, and the grain pattern in that is really crazy. I mean, the grain goes all over the place, but they're fun. They're interesting to make. I do them on a router table where I run them through and route half of the bore, and then I glue them up, and then run them on the lathe to round them up and stuff. But I've done some. They're just plain wood like this. I did a drone flute. I don't have it with me. A drone basically looks like a double barrel shotgun. It's 2 flutes in one, and one side is both sides are tuned to a fundamental note, but one side is all you play. So and the mouthpiece has 2 holes, so as you shift your mouth, you shift from one tone to both tones. So, and I've made them in different sizes. I've got one that I've started a long time ago and just hadn't got back to it, and but I do want to get back to it. It's going to be a very low pitch flute, because it's about that long and a bore about like that. So it's going to really drop down. Hadn't played much in the last several years. I feel like I've had a target painted on my back. I've been caring for 3 elderly parents, and then my wife came down with cancer, and she's doing fantastic. She's into quilting big time and donating quilts to Children's Hospital like crazy. So, but I've learned to play at it a little bit, but I play at playing. And they're really tricky getting this part positioned in a certain place. There's an air chamber here. There's a wall that has, and then what they call the flue has the groove that splits the air and makes them play. And then the length of the bore and the diameter plays is adjust for the tuning. But this one's not. The strap's actually a little bit loose, but anyway. But I've got 2 or 3 I'll pass around for you to look at. The pedal for the sewing machine. This is what I make. Simple 2 pieces of wood, and the old Singer machine. Some of them people have seen them. They have the black button on one side and the one that you push up and down that actually controls the speed, and rocking your foot back and forth to adjust the speed. So this thing here opens up. You put the here, close this down, And like I said, you know, call it my wife's gas pedal. She sit there and push it to the floor, and away she goes. She's got a new helper on her quilting. We got a new kitten a few weeks ago. Has to be in the middle of everything. I'm just waiting for his tail to go through the pressure foot and get a needle. So, and then one other thing, you know, my wife and I both retired after the past year or two. I got a laser engraver, and several things I've done with it. One is I keep bees, and I used to volunteer over what used to be called the Discovery Center. It's called the Muse, Knoxville now, and they have a beehive over there that's in pretty bad shape. And I decided, well, I'm not going to do a plain white box for them, and I'll show you some pictures of my cell phone. I have to locate them because I got so many pictures on there. But I ran the high parts through the laser engraver, and then came back and hand painted them in. And so I'm dressing the thing up really nice, and I want to get a webcam set up over there, and eventually get into doing, you know, like on weekends, have a monitor inside the museum, and I can be outside where the bees are and do a two-way talk while I open the hives and go through them. But one of the other things I got into, I've had several friends who had, if you have pets and you've had a pet pass, get attached to them, you know, they're family. So I got into laser engraving some things like this. So, there we go. Yeah, the laser engraver is a lot of fun to work with. This one's an LED. It's one of the Autour engravers. It's a 20-watt LED laser. Eventually, I want to step up to a CO2 because I know that's what you've got here. So, but I'd like to get one that'll go enough where I can do some engraving on or cutting of metal. I've got a customer that where I used to work. They do parts for automatic weapons. They make clips and ammo belts and stuff like that, and they laser engrave onto on the clips their logos and stuff like that. So I want to be able to get into doing some things similar to that. So, but yeah, I'll pass these around, and I've got a couple of others I'll send around here too. Yeah, the figuring on this wood is, you can see the striping there.
What did you finish them with?
The only thing, I used shellac inside to seal the bore because you wouldn't need to seal any pores in the wood. And then the outside is hand rubbed tongue oil.
Alrighty. Well, thank you very much. You're definitely right on covering a lot of bases with those projects. My goodness, I have to up my game. Alrighty, now we have Russell with an apothecary lamp.
Thank you. I also am new and found out that I may be off of double secret probation. I don't have a key yet, so we'll see. And I also learned that there is electricity up here. I didn't know that last time. So I'm going to try to hold this up so you can see it. This is just a small jewelry box with a couple of apothecary jars. This one of the bottles, I had to actually, I've got a diamond hole saw. I drilled a hole in the bottom of it so that it would go on here. The other side has an LED in the bottom. So this side is dimmable, so you can get plenty of light out of it if you want to. And then the other side just has a simple switch to light the LED up. And you can put whatever color, water, or oil, or whatever in here that you want. One problem I ran into when I found these stoppers, I thought, oh, these are perfect, but they're really long, and it won't go in. So on this one, I put a score in it with a file, heated it up with a torch, and then dunked it in some ice water and tapped it, and it broke. I knew that I may be sacrificing it, but as it turned out, it actually worked. Let me take it apart real quick, and then I'll show you the insides. Oops, sorry. I think I can show you the insides. I don't know if I can or not. I'll give it a shot. Maybe a little too close. Oh, you can zoom out? Sweet.
Over here.
Okay, let's see what happens. Zoom out. Oh yeah, that works well. So under here, power coming in. This is the dimmer for one side, the light socket. This is the driver for the LED, switch for the LED, and then I just put this in to keep all the wires nice and tidy. There's really no reason to get in here, but I thought maybe, if anything goes wrong, may want to get in. So I just put the little latches on the side so you can get in and out of it. Because it's sort of unwieldy with all these parts. I mean, if it were on your dresser or table or whatever, it's not that big of a deal. But instead of passing it around, I'll just plug it up out in the craft area so that you can see it. So I've got a drawer in it. This is an old antique box. And it's got some ratty places in the bottom of where, I guess, jewelry goes. And I keep forgetting to buy felt to go in there to replace that. And this was actually done at the request of somebody. It's a commission job, so I've got to get that fixed before I deliver it to them. And so that's the apothecary light. Any questions? There's a question.
On the bottle, there's a light bulb that goes on. You talked about cutting the lid.
Yes.
How did you cut the hole on the bottom?
This was cut with a diamond hole saw. I've got a video of how I cut it. I actually used plumber's putty and just put a little dam around the outside. Put a dam around here. That way I can keep some water in it to keep it cool. I made a little jig to hold the bottle, put the diamond cutter in the drill press, and went real slow. Took probably 10 or 12 minutes to go all the way through, and I had a hypodermic top needle to make sure that I kept water in it to keep it cool. I was scared to death that I would break it, as I was also scared to death that I would break this, but thank goodness everything came together. Okay, anything else? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. that was really amazing. I want to go and like, decorate an entire room around that now. Like, whole wing of the house, secret lab. Alrighty, now we have Amos with swatches. I'm really dying to see what you have that are swatches, Amos. Very excited.
Last May, or this May actually, as pandemic was starting to wind down, I was thinking, okay, well, let's look for a collaborative 3D printing project to do. And one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about lately is the problem of color matching. Because it turns out that even just paints, color systems are a complete mess. And when you're trying to buy filaments online, it can be quite expensive to figure out exactly the color you want. Because even if they say, oh, it's this color, and they give you like a Pantone color code, well, how does the sheen look? How transparent is it? There's a lot more to it than just a color code. So in May, on the 3D printing channel on Mattermost, I brought up the idea of creating a Knox Makers swatch catalog for all of these different filaments. And Isaac said that we should probably look at making them so something that could tile, so we could put it up on the wall and you can kind of see everything. And then in the background, Paul and I have been going through a few different revisions, and let's see if I can put this here. This is the current offering that we have. Let's see if we can. Okay, so what we have made are all of these little tiles, these hexagonal tiles, and they print in about 30 minutes, and they have magnets in the back, 3x6mm magnets. And right now it just says the manufacturer, the material name, and material type, and you could look it up. But in the near future, we're working on getting it so they have little label maker printed QR codes that you can scan with your smartphone, and it goes to the wiki page that has all the information about it, and hopefully even an affiliate link where you could buy that material if you want it, and Knox Makers gets a small, few cents or so for it. So that's what we're working on. We've made a few revisions on this, and I think I can show, I can do this right. So one of the things that we did on these that is made it so that when you hold them up to the light, you can see kind of how transparent or translucent they are, because different materials are going to behave differently, and depending on the project you have at hand, you may want a few different looks to them. And so that's what we made, so it has a few different thicknesses on the center, but still prints pretty quickly, and they tile nicely on a piece of steel. So anyway, that's the swatch project. I could pass around a few of these samples, but I'm not going to pass around this piece of metal because that's got sharp edges to it. And if you're interested in working on that project, see me afterwards. I haven't put the file on the wiki just yet, but we're working on that. Any filament you want to donate. So basically what this is so this is about like a quarter of my materials at home. And I hopefully will get one printed for all of them, and then anybody else wants to donate their materials, and if we have a database, we can avoid duplicates that way. Yeah, and I'm even looking at having it eventually, it's not just the material on there. We may get some tensile testing things for filaments and stuff, so we can start to have like, this is the ultimate tensile strength, this is how many joules per cross-sectional area it would take to break it, with like a Sharpie impact machine. So if you wanted to select a material based off of the mechanical properties, you could do that too. That's the idea. But for now, it's just like, this is what it looks like, and here's where you can buy some. So.
Well, thank you, Amos, for putting in all of that work. As somebody who does fiber arts, I do lots and lots of swatches, and I know just how useful those can be. I appreciate that. Thank you. Alrighty, now we have, okay, Art, who has a desk. Is this correct? Okay, good. I wasn't quite sure. It wasn't my handwriting, so.
Yeah, my handwriting is not spectacular, sorry. So, as my first project for working here at Knox Makers, well, not working here, but my first project I worked on here, I wanted to do something small, so just to get started. So I started with, okay, yeah, because apparently it's not going to turn for me. All right. So, yeah. So small, by small I mean 7 foot by 3 foot by roughly 15 inches. It's all oak plywood, banded around the outside with, it's all red oak plywood, banded around the outside with red oak. It's an editing desk, so that's why it has that big monitor riser on the top of it, so that I'm not staring down at a monitor all day. I can look up at it. It's much better for my neck. Took 3, 4, 5 coats of tung oil. Sorry. Apparently I like to save my battery. Took 5 coats of tung oil, which overall that surface area turned out to be about almost 2 full cans of it, quart cans. But I think for my first project, it turned out pretty nice. It will eventually go on a stand-up desk riser that I bought. So that will bolt to that. And then down here at the bottom are what essentially the legs of the desk. That there's an outer and an inner leg. So the inner leg gets bolted to or screwed to the desk itself. So when it lifts up, the outer leg sits on the ground and the inner leg lifts up, so you don't see the mechanism underneath of it. It looks, all you see is the wood. And then the next project is building a computer, editing computer, which will go on that desk, which is what all those things are there sitting there waiting for the desk. So that's it. That's my first project.
Oh, thank you. I hope you come back with the computer parts and pictures of all of that. I would love to see that. Alrighty. Now we have Connie, who has a toy.
As you know, I make Christmas. Okay? And, oh, I'm sorry. Excellent, sorry. I make Christmas. And last year for Christmas, my 3 grandsons are cow obsessed. So for each one of them, there's 3, I made them a cow. One was black for an Angus, one was brown for a Limousin. And for my youngest grandson, who we jokingly tell his father he should have named him Eric and called him Hoss. Yes, it is a Bonanza reference, because he is at 18 months bigger than the child that's about to turn 3 in another month, okay? So for Benjamin, I made him Babe the Blue Ox, okay? When I borrowed this back from my daughter-in-law Sunday, she apologized that it is worn and loved, and I told her that was the biggest compliment I could ever get. If it turns into the Velveteen Bunny, it's exactly what I intended it to do. Okay? It is made out of blue leather, but stitched together. Thoroughly stuffed. It has been a football. They have wrote on it, and they have a blast with it. So this was, like I said, this was my project for last Christmas, and this year apparently I'm making them goggles. I just didn't find out until yesterday.
I love that. And as a sewer, I have to compliment you on how your parts all came together perfectly for that 3D shape. That's hard, and so that's awesome. That was great work there. Alrighty, and now we have Sue, who is going to show us her amazing sewing. That's what it says on the paper, and so that's what it is. It's amazing. It says it's amazing. See right there. It says amazing, right there. It said
Okay.
so.
Well, to do that amazing sewing, sometimes I need some help. I was requested to do some coveralls. And so for the coveralls, you have pockets on the behind. And I've never been real good with the rounded bottom pocket. It kind of comes out lopsided and oval. So I have my little helper that I used like you would for a pom-pom quilt to cut the pattern bigger and then stitched it, gathered it. It worked out really well. Now for the front side, the great-grandchild that wants this, her favorite color is yellow. So I thought, what better to put on the front than yellow, than a duck. So I did this duck first, but I didn't really like the flowers on it. So I did another duck. And unlike, I'm not quite sure how Amos did this, but I didn't have a beautiful light board like up here where I could put this and then draw on top of it to make my pattern. Instead, I used the bay window and let the sunlight be my light board. So I got it all finished. And duck buttons. Little duck buttons. So that's my project. Been a couple weekends. I don't know about amazing, but yes, sewing. Thank you.
Oh yeah, definitely amazing. Definitely. I've done some of those appliques. Pain in the behind. Yes, amazing. Alrighty. Well, unless there's somebody else out there, anybody like hanging on to some show and share you just got a show right now? Anybody? Anybody? Alrighty, I'll be looking at you next week. Just bring your stuff. Alrighty, so that concludes our show and share. I do have some announcements. We have some classes coming up. I have them right in front of me from our webpage. If you guys haven't checked out our schedule on the webpage, it looks like this. Go check it out. We have machining coming up on the 15th, creating wood inlays on the 17th. We have a virtual board meeting coming up Sunday. Ooh, boy, that's going to be exciting, guys. Everybody should come. Then we have new members onboarding next week, Thursday. Milling 101 also coming up. We have some other classes in the works. This is my own announcement for my class. For those of you who remember these guys and have asked for me to teach classes, I was all set up to do it just before the Fire Nation attacked last year, and largely thanks to John Novak right there, because he made tools for us. Thank you so much. Couldn't have happened without you, but I'm now getting ready to schedule, after a long delay, doing this sometime in late August, probably early to mid-September. So if you have a requested date, let me know, and I'll see if I can work it out. But that's going to happen. And Connie is working on putting together a class for some leatherworking, too, in September, late August. I think you said August is what you were wanting. Yeah, you were, yeah. So anyway, we have all these things coming up. We'd love for other people to join us, sharing their skills. Come on and teach some classes. The last thing that I have, as most of you guys know, we are all volunteers here. And as with Tuesdays in the past, I need somebody to volunteer, help carry out the rubbish. Who wants to do it? Everybody, yay! All right, awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. Great time. I did. See you next week. Bye-bye.